Live from San Diego, California.
We go live to the newsroom with your host
for Nick's Nerd. Well, it's me, your host, Nick. It's Nick's Nerd News. And as always, as a reminder, check me out on social media, Nick's Nerd News, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, the like. You know, whatever your heart desires in terms of social media, things like that. Also, check us out, nicksnerdnews.com. There you can find links to the show on Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, things like that. Thanks for coming back again for another week. I know I teased you guys with a little bit of a surprise. We're going to get to that later. You just got to hold your horses. That's not coming just yet. And let's get right into it, because there is a lot happening. There was a lot happening this past week. Mostly in the video game world. I know we've been kind of light on the gaming news lately. And just a tiny bit of TV stuff today, and a lot of movies too. So finally got to play The Division 2. I'm only played a little bit of it. I didn't get to really pick it up until after I returned back from my work trip and little vacation that I took. Having a lot of fun with it so far. I've put about maybe seven or so hours in, maybe a little more. I'm level 7 or 8 right now. DC is beautifully rendered. The game is gorgeous. A lot going on, a lot of things to do. The enemies aren't bullet sponges. Some new challenging ways to take on bosses, and new factions and things that exist in DC that weren't in New York. And it's really fun. Really, really fun. And the mission types are varied. The fetch quests are different than your average like looter shooter type. Compared to Anthem, the drop rate is a lot better. I will say that. I'm not super happy with the gun types though. Lately, the thing I've been using the most are like single shot or semi-auto weapons, like rifles and burst shot, things like that. The assault rifles or fully automatic weapons, I should say, they're a pain in the ass to use. They're all over the fucking place. The spray is out of control, and even like LMGs are just a pain in the ass to use. And it's like shotguns are okay, but they're only really good for up close stuff. But a lot of enemies like charge at you, so it's good to have like a shotgun and a single shot rifle. Like I've been using an M4, not an M4, sorry, like an M14 a lot, or an M1 really. Those are the two things that I've been using the most as my weapon types, along with a shotgun I got with my pre-order bonus. Those have helped me the best so far, but it's I'm hoping to find maybe an assault rifle or a fully auto that will benefit my play type that I'm used to. But it's fun having to play in a different sort of experience than what I'm used to. But obviously I'll talk more about that as I get to play more. Also got Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, the new From Software game. It's my first From Software title, and it is fucking hard. And, well, at least for me. I mean, I know people that have played the other, played Dark Souls and Demon Souls and Bloodborne and things like this, and maybe if I had played some of those, I might not have struggled so much in this. And I'm having fun with it, though. I will say this. The game's beautiful. There is a lot of blood, though. It's almost like playing a Quentin Tarantino movie, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've only played a few hours because it took me a ridiculously a long amount of time to get past like this first little, not like a boss, but like a tougher character that you kind of have to use all the basic skills they teach you right in the beginning. It took me a while to get used to it, because it's a different game that I'm not used to. It's a type of game I'm not used to playing. And I think like I said, if I'd played the other ones, I might have not have struggled so much. But I'm getting the hang of the game, and I'm starting to do a lot better on certain characters than I was before. And it's really fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. Again, I've only put a few hours in, and I'm still learning the how the game works. Just got some shuriken that I can fire out of my prosthetic arm, but I will follow up with that with you guys in a couple weeks as well. I'm sorry I don't have a lot to talk about The Division and Sekiro, just because I didn't get a whole lot to do with them, just because they came out back to back, and unfortunately I was gone for a week and didn't get to play as much Division as some other people might have been able to. We also got announcements on what's going to happen with Apex's Apex Legends Battle Pass. Finally got some news on that. It's called Apex Legends Season 1 Wild Frontier Battle Pass. It's available now. It came out on the 19th. It's available for 950 Apex coins or $9.50. And it is Season 1 unlocks a Battle Pass reward, and there are over 100 that can be earned throughout the season. Oh, different awards, sorry. Weapon skins, banner frames, XP boosts, stuff like that. You also get 3 Wild Frontier-themed Legend skins immediately when they purchase the pass. It's for Lifeline, Wraith, and Mirage. You can also buy the Battle Pass bundle, which unlocks the next 25 Battle Pass levels and their respective rewards automatically for $28 if you want. And obviously that's all stuff that you can unlock just from playing. You do not have to purchase it. It looks like it's mostly cosmetic stuff. So that's good. It's not pay to win or anything like that. I mean, a lot of free to play games like this have been going that way, I guess you can say. But that is available now, $9.50. So it's not too expensive, and you get some cool stuff with it if you're playing Apex Legends. That is still. I know a lot of people are. I've been seeing a lot of commercials for it on TV, especially during the March Madness right now. So that's really cool. It's getting a lot more play than Fortnite did. That's for damn sure. But EA has a lot more money to throw around than Epic did with Fortnite, at least back then. Also got news on when Mortal Kombat 11's beta will begin. It's a closed beta and only for those who pre-ordered the game. That will begin on March 27th and run through March 31st, so later this week. And that will actually have started by the time you're listening to this podcast. So just be on the lookout. If you pre-ordered the game, you probably have a code incoming somewhere. The writer of Portal 1 and 2 and both Left 4 Deads is starting a studio that will focus on co-op games. That's really cool, actually, because that's Left 4 Dead was all about co-op. Portal 1 and 2, not so much, but I think you could play co-op. I've never really gotten into into Portal, mainly because I tried playing Portal 2 once. It came free with like my Steam or something, and shit gave me a headache. Like I could not play that game for more than like an hour at a time. It was sickening almost. Like it was a bit of nausea. Too much going on that I just couldn't handle, and unfortunately I missed out on, I know, what are considered very great games. Left 4 Dead, I'm not a zombie guy, I've talked about that before, so but this guy's bringing a lot of experience with him, so he should be good to go for that. I know we've been talking about Gearbox has been teasing like Borderlands 3, if you guys are aware of that whole thing, and they teased another game actually, and this time it was like a banner ad with a character from Bulletstorm and Duke Nukem. So people are going a little crazy trying to figure out what this might be teasing. Is it new Bulletstorm? Is it new Duke? Is it a Duke add-on for Bulletstorm? My guess is probably a new Duke game, but I don't know how Duke Nukem would be received in 2019. That's an interesting thought in itself, in and of itself, I should say. If you like playing shooters on your phone, like PUBG Mobile, Fortnite Mobile, you can add Call of Duty to that list. Activision, in a partnership with Tencent, who's quickly taking over the gaming world, Chinese multi-billion-dollar conglomerate there, have announced Call of Duty Mobile, a free-to-play game, and the beta's coming this summer. You'll get to play as classic Call of Duty characters, classic Call of Duty maps. They highlighted Crash, probably one of the best maps other than Rust. But if you don't have a phone that can handle that, I mean, most people that have newer phones might be able to, but I feel like games like that lose a lot of their muster on a cell phone. Like you're losing a lot there that can be it's not the same, I guess, as a console. It's just I don't know how. I've never played them on mobile. I know a lot of people do and have fun, but I'm not. I don't need to play those. The only games I really play on mobile are just easy games that are either puzzle games or like point and click games, because it's just there's not a lot to it. I don't have to focus too much on them. But that again, this is targeting a different type of gamer, not necessarily someone like me. There was like some new concept art that got leaked, and it's actually old concept art from the early 90s, and it was about Sega Genesis almost had an Alien versus Predator football game. This concept art showed up at like a gaming museum in Texas, but its authenticity has been questioned. No one's really come out to say if it was true or not, but it's something to think about. Something to definitely think about. We'll get to the big gaming announcement soon. The NPD group announced the top-selling games for February. No surprise here. Anthem was number 1. Jump Force, surprisingly, number 2. Kingdom Hearts 3 still holding strong in number 3. Far Cry New Dawn made number 4. Red Dead Redemption still in the top 10 a few months later at number 5. Resident Evil 2 at number 6. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 7. Metro Exodus at 8. NBA 2K19 at 9. And Call of Duty Black Ops 4 rounding out the top 10 there. Interesting top 10. And speaking of Metro being in the top 10, the studio announced that even though Metro was exclusive to the Epic Game Store on PC, it actually did not affect sales in any way. They actually announced that Metro Exodus sold 2.5 times better than Metro Last Light did, which that's kind of got to be a little confusing. I think Exodus doesn't really connect to Last Light or 2033 directly, but I'm sure people who are jumping into Exodus might be a little confused if they didn't play the last few. But again, I don't know exactly. I never finished them. It was couldn't get into it. I own both of them. I got the collection on sale one day, and I should probably go back and give them a try when I don't have a huge backlog to play. But I mean, I only played a few hours, so I can't really judge. Granted, a few hours of gameplay can tell you if you're going to like the game or not. But I do want to go back and give it another chance. I do want to go back and definitely try it again. Judgment, I know we've been talking about that a lot for the last couple weeks. It is still scheduled to release in June. It looks like they're going to replace the actor caught up in that drug scandal. So don't worry, you can still play it. Quantic Dream, they're the studio that made like Heavy Rain and Detroit Become Human and things like that, announced that some of their games will actually be headed to the Epic Game Store on PC. So they're losing their PlayStation exclusivity. And let's see, what games? Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, and Detroit Become Human will be available on PC later this year through the Epic Store. That's kind of a shocker, actually, especially for a newer game like that. Especially considering it was like one of PlayStation's biggest hits last year, and they pushed that hard in marketing. But that's actually not the only exclusive to be losing its exclusivity. Cuphead will be joining the Switch lineup this year, and I don't get me wrong, Cuphead was never technically like a full-on exclusive. It was Microsoft helped them pay to finish the game and add more content, but it wasn't necessarily like a full 100% exclusive. And with that, they actually announced that it would be getting Xbox Live with it. So let me see. Microsoft went into further details, and it's still in its early stages of development. No further information was given other than Xbox Live will appear in a post-launch update to Cuphead on Nintendo Switch. Working with developers to get their games to their players remains a key goal for the ID at Xbox program. Helping Studio MDHR bring Cuphead and Xbox Live onto Switch is the latest example of bringing Xbox innovations such as Live and Xbox Game Pass over to our development partners in the program. So it looks like it will just be in Cuphead and not necessarily like a full feature on the Switch. So that will be, I'm sure we'll find out more later in the year, probably more than likely at E3. More than likely. But that's interesting that both of the first-party games, first-party consoles are losing some of their biggest exclusives to go to other places. And Cuphead, though, if you have not played Cuphead, go do it now because it's amazing. It's really hard, but it's really fun. It's all hand-drawn animation, and it's just the work that was put into that game is beautiful. Just to look at it, not even like, even if you're not really going to play or get deep into it, just to look at how beautiful it is. It's a callback to classic animation from like the 20s and 30s, and that's really awesome to see that done, especially for a video game, to be able to get that done. CD Projekt Red announced that we will be definitely getting Cyberpunk 2077, and one other unannounced game will release by 2021, so by the end of 2020. So Cyberpunk will either be a next-gen game or will be released at the tail end of this generation. They've been working on it since like 2012, so I guess, seven or so years, 7 to 8 years to get a game up and running. Props to them for making just amazing games all around. Sony announced that a State of Play, which is their new live stream for announcements of games and things like that, will air on March 25th. We'll talk about that obviously on next week's episode, as that will happen after we record. And Xbox will have an indie showcase on March 26th. Excuse me, Sony's State of Play was the 25th. Xbox's indie showcase is the 26th. So we will talk about those next week for any kind of game announcements. Remedy also talked about their new game, Control. That was something they teased at E3 last year with this character who could kind of have control of physics. Remedy, if you don't know, made the first two Max Payne games, Alan Wake, and... was it Alan Wake? Yeah, Alan Wake. Totally underrated game on Xbox 360. And then Quantum Break on Xbox One. Really fun game. Got a lot of hate, though. Undeservedly so. But Control will be their first multi-platform game. Yes, it is releasing on all systems since Max Payne 2. So it's been quite a while for them. Control will release on August 27th. They also gave some game details. You play a character who works for like the Control Bureau or something like that, and most of the game takes place in that bureau, trying to solve mysteries and find out the evil that's trying to take over, if you will. And before we get into the biggest news of the week, Konami announced a special 50th anniversary collections, because Konami has been around for 50 years. Obviously not making video games for that long, but 3 collections. The Castlevania collection, the Contra collection, and its arcade classics. They will be available digitally on all 3 main systems and PC. Will come with a bonus ebook. The first collection is the Arcade Classics Anniversary Collection that will release on April 18th. For $20, you'll get 8 games: Haunted Castle, Typhoon, Ajax, Nemesis, Vulcan Venture, Gradius 2, Life Force, Thundercross, Scramble, and Twin B. I think that's more than 8 games, but I don't know. Then the Konami Castlevania Collection, which will be available in early summer 2019. And it says it's designed to be a completed collection around the origins of the historic franchise. It will feature 8 games as well, but only 4 have been announced. The original Castlevania from NES, Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge from Game Boy, Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse from NES, and Castlevania 4 from the Super Nintendo. And then the last one is the Contra Collection, will also arrive in early summer 19. Will feature 8 games, and again, only 4 were announced: Contra, Super C, and Contra 3: The Alien Wars. I'm sure they'll get pretty high into that. Contra, if you've never played, is a lot like Metal Slug in a way. And then Castlevania obviously is a classic platformer. Games are always referred to as Metroidvania type games. Metroid and Castlevania obviously making up that nomenclature. So if you're really into that stuff, check those out. Those are going to release later this year. And then also, Disney dropped some hints, despite the fact that Disney said they aren't in the business of self-publishing games anymore. Some hints came out that maybe Lucasfilm Games was going to make a comeback. So Lucasfilm Games existed before LucasArts did. But I guess this is according to IGN. They spoke to a representative from Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm Games has existed and helped to ensure games meet Lucasfilm standards ever since the closure of LucasArts. So the internet was kind of a buzz thinking, okay, so that means Lucasfilm Games is coming back and Disney's going to publish games. But in reality, it was just misinformation, and Lucasfilm Games has just existed and was just overseeing to make sure EA wasn't fucking things up too much, which they've pretty much failed in their execution of their duties, because how many games have been canceled and how many games have caused an uproar in the community. So it looks like it was all due to job postings, and it caused an uproar in the industry, just like that ridiculous rumor about Disney buying or Sony buying Take-Two. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, the biggest news, and if you've been living under a rock, that's the only possible way you might have missed this. Google announced the Stadia, a streaming platform, their gaming initiative, and it's going to launch this year, and has some beefier specs. The guy in charge at Google says it's going to be more powerful than the Xbox One and PS4 combined. A lot of third-party games are going to be coming. It's pretty much... Bethesda was a big showing there. They wanted to show off their stuff, especially Doom and things like that. And it looks like EA Sports games are coming. Maybe Red Dead, I don't know. They just kind of hinted at it with some like teaser images of games. And we already know Assassin's Creed might more than likely be coming, because you could stream Assassin's Creed Odyssey right through Chrome last year. So Doom Eternal, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, or some kind of Assassin's Creed. The controller was made available. It looks a lot like that controller, that image that had leaked a few weeks back. It's got a Google Assistant button on it. This is really going to change the game. It's got more teraflops than the PS4 Pro, more than double the teraflops on a PS4 Pro, just a little higher than the teraflops on the Xbox One X. Of course, those are what have to do with the GPU teraflops, so that's the graphics cards essentially, and how they run. I guess they're using multiple GPUs. Granted, it's all streaming, so that's which is funny. A lot of companies are going to be coming out swinging in the streaming world. I guess via Wi-Fi, it's all going to come that way. And let's look at the specifications here. It is a 10.7 teraflops of power GPU, 56 compute units, HBM2 memory. It's got a custom x86 processor, runs at 2.7 gigahertz, hyper-threaded AVX2, 16 gigs of RAM, 484 gigabytes of transfer speed, and then an L2 plus L3 cache of 9.5 megabits. I mean, that's a lot of whole gobbledygook that I don't understand, that maybe some of you guys do. I just know that means it's got some good power in it. And Eurogamer and Digital Foundry, ever the guys to go over and compare specs and make sure everyone has the best information possible, pretty much said that it's unfair, relatively unfair, to compare them to whole home consoles, as mainly this isn't really going to be something like that. You're going to be using servers, and it doesn't really operate on the same level as a traditional console, and it's not going to be hindered by disks or storage or things like that, not necessarily, because again, it's all streaming. And let me see, it's going to require a 25 megabit internet connection. So 25 Mbps. And That's if you want to have a stable 1080p 60 frames per second gameplay. That is not much of a stretch. Internet speeds in the US are getting better, but some places still are not great. Hell, I mean, my room, I have a newer computer. Before we switched to Spectrum, I was getting like 2 megabits at best. And I'm in the room literally next to the router. Like literally right next to the router, and that's just a little ridiculous. Granted, since we've upgraded to Spectrum, I've done we've gotten a lot better, a lot faster. If you guys don't know how to check your megabits per second, I actually have to do this for work a lot, just because we have internet connected devices. A number of ways you can test if you guys are thinking about getting the Google Stadia. And what you'd want to do is in each room that you would possibly put it, a couple different options. You can go to fast.com and it will give you your internet speed right then and there, based off Mbps. Like I just did it, 44 megabits per second in my room right now, which I could stream the 1080p 60 frames per second with Stadia. Or you could do just a Wi-Fi speed test right in Google and it will run it, or in any of your browsers on your phones. If you do Wi-Fi speed test, it'll pull it right up. You can test it. And my recommendation would be to do it in the room that you would more than likely be having Stadia hooked up and playing in. Because you don't want to do it next to the router, because obviously that's where it's going to be the strongest. You want to be somewhere where you're going to be playing it, so that way you have a better idea of if you need an extender, if you need something else to hook up, so that way you can run it and get the best experience with it. But this is really going to change the future. Because Xbox is coming out with Project xCloud, a streaming service. Sony more than likely will be doing something. There's rumors that Apple will have some kind of game service. And everyone's been saying that the next console generation is probably going to be the last. I don't know if I'm going to wholeheartedly latch onto that, just because internet speeds aren't great in other parts of the country just yet. And it really comes down to your infrastructure. So I don't know if streaming is going to be the future right away. I mean, I know 2019 is, and we're about to go into the next decade here with 2020 next year. I still give it another 5 to 7 years before streaming really takes a foothold and takes over. So I don't know how. See, it's different than getting like this rumored diskless Xbox One that's coming, because you're not technically streaming games to that. You're just downloading them to the console, and the console is still running it. It's not a constant internet connection required to play, like online is. So I'm skeptical at the moment. I can't wait to see what comes on it. Again, I don't know if I would make I don't think the Stadia or the Stadia, I don't know how you fucking say it. I don't know if this is really aimed at like hardcore gamers, like someone like me or someone who gets a lot of consoles and gets those games. I think this is aimed more at a casual gamer, maybe someone that maybe buys a couple of games a year at most, maybe gets one console. They haven't really announced pricing plans or anything, or how that's going to work. So again, this might be aimed at someone who's not going to buy every single game every month, things like that. It'll be interesting to see how this affects the gaming world moving forward. And you know for certain Xbox and Sony are going to be watching this like hawks to see how people react to it when it comes to launching their own game streaming services. And Google has an infrastructure to back that up. Granted, they're the largest fucking company on the planet right now, pretty much. They're probably not, but you know, I'm exaggerating here. But I mean, they control a lot of what people do. You know, Google's the number one internet search engine outside of China. Android devices are in more hands than Apple devices, just by the nature of the operating system being on many different platforms. And hell, they have YouTube and Gmail, things like this. Google is set up for this type of infrastructure. Microsoft is close. They do have a lot of servers. They have their Azure system, where they host a lot of companies, just like Amazon does. I forgot, Amazon might be getting into the game streaming service. That was rumored recently as well. So it's looks like this is going to be the future of the gaming industry. Let's just see if it actually takes off in the way everyone is expecting it to. But that's it for gaming. And I'm gonna put more thoughts into this. I'm probably gonna publish it on nixnerdnews.com. I will make an announcement when it's on there. So if you guys want to keep hearing my thoughts on this, I don't want to take up too much time because we have other stuff to talk about. But it's definitely going to be something that will be on my mind and a lot of gamers' minds in the time coming, especially with E3 coming up pretty soon and more announcements coming. With this being the second to last week of March, obviously news for Netflix for things that are coming and leaving. On April 1st, joining Netflix will be their new Ultraman anime, the movie Deliverance, I Am Legend, Pineapple Express, The Fifth Element, and Valkyrie, or Valkyria, one of the coolest Tom Cruise movies about the plot to overthrow Hitler in World War II. On April 5th, the Sabrina Season 2 will launch. Also, Netflix's challenger to Planet Earth, Our Planet, which will actually have Sir David Attenborough being the narrator. On April 10th, their new Choose Your Own Adventure show, almost like what they did with Black Mirror Bandersnatch, called You vs. Wild. And you will get to decide if Bear Grylls, yes, Bear Grylls from Man vs. Wild, gets to live. I like this Choose Your Own Adventure stuff that's coming to TV. It's the future. The future is now. And then on April 29th, The Imitation Game is coming. It's a movie starring Benedict Cumberbatch, pretty much the father of modern computing. But also, like I said, with things coming to Netflix, we will also be losing things. On April 1st, we're going to be losing American Pie, Billy Madison, the first 3 seasons of Blue Mountain State, pretty much all the James Bond movies that have been added to Netflix recently. I know they kind of go up and they're on there, they're not on there, things like that. I don't have to worry. I own them all on Blu-ray. Happy Gilmore, I Love You Man, and then on the April 7th, all the Clone Wars, the movie and all seasons will be leaving Netflix, obviously to get ready to be put on Disney Plus later this year, and then the first 3 seasons of Video Game High School. So that's Netflix. Also, to go along with that, 2 big things happened in the Netflix world. Neon Genesis Evangelion will be coming to Netflix on June 21st. This is a cult classic anime, more than cult classic. I mean, it's considered one of the best anime of all time, and it is extremely hard to find legally, streaming, DVD, anything. All of the shows and the 2 sequel movies will be coming to Netflix on June 21st. That's a major announcement. And then, of course, we got the trailer for Stranger Things Season 3. I am stoked. It's dropping July 4th. The show will be centered around July 4th. Got some cool they showed off some new characters. Looks like there's going to be some preteen drama, as expected, as kids get older, And a lot of interesting things going on here with in relation to Steve. It looks like maybe he might be kind of stuck in a rut. I don't mean that like he's depressed, but it looks like maybe he's not able to move forward with his life. Looks like the sheriff and Will's mom might be having a bit of a thing going on here. That was kind of hinted at in Season 2. Some new creatures that are going to plague the kids. It looks like 11 might still be struggling with the Upside Down. And, of course, new government conspiracies to deal with. But I am stoked for this. Cannot wait for Stranger Things Season 3. It's been such a great show. Pulls at a lot of nostalgia heartstrings there. Also, got Jon Favreau tweeted some more stuff about The Mandalorian, which is expected to air later this year on Disney Plus. Looks like Taika Waititi might be playing either IG-88 or some other kind of IG assassin droid. They teased him in front of a microphone reading lines with a picture of said droid, which I think is perfect. I mean, after Taika played Korg in Thor Ragnarok, he can deliver lines in a meaningful way through voice acting, because voice acting it does require a level of some acting ability. It's not just reading lines and hoping they sound right. In a big blow to, I'm sure, a lot of fans, I never really watched this show. I would always watch it at the gym, actually, with subtitles, because it was always on when I was there. But Supernatural will be ending with season 15 next year. It's actually one of the only shows left on the CW network from before, when it was still the WB network. It's been running for a long time. I'm surprised it's made it this long. A lot of people love that show. Some people I know think it overstayed its welcome, but again, I can't say too much. Every time I did watch it, I did enjoy it. It was funny. Hell, they just did a Scooby-Doo crossover last year. And we'll be ending with season 15 next year. I'm sure a lot of people are upset over that. That along with, of course, Arrow ending next year as well. A lot of shows that lasted a good long run. And speaking of the Arrowverse, did any of you guys catch the 2 separate Spider-Man references last week on Arrow and then on The Flash? Which begs a whole lot of questions. Does Stan Lee exist in the Arrowverse? Does Marvel Comics exist in the Arrowverse? Does the MCU exist in the Arrowverse? I want to know. I need these questions answered. And how dare you do this to us, Arrowverse writers? Now you're just throwing like a whole weird, strange conspiracy theory out into the world. And I don't have answers. And I'm just going to be left questioning it all the time. But no, it's a little nod to obviously Spider-Man, a great hero. Hell, they even use the "with great power comes great responsibility" line. So obviously, it's nice to see them mention each other in each other's properties, and shows that they can play nice with each other when some other companies can't always do that. And the last little bit of TV news I just wanted to talk about. Got some more news regarding the Halo show. Rupert Wyatt was able to give a bit of an interview on why he departed and why he couldn't make it and how he had wished he was able to actually work on it. This was an interview with, they interviewed him at South by Southwest, and he said, when you're making AAA games, this is IGN, when you're making AAA games like that and you're spending $450 million and you're making them across 5 years, it's all a digital construct. So to me, I kept on asking the question of myself and the team around me, why would we want to be making something that is a digital construct on 1/3 of the budget with 1/3 of the time, said Wyatt. In simple terms, what I was therefore attempting to do was to do everything in camera, to go to locations, to bring a real-world quality to that mythology, which I think would have been really exciting. He said, you're dealing with the outer colony planets and Reach, and just so many different topographies and places and cultures. Like, what is it like for a human colony over time to have evolved? What cultures from Earth have come there, or from Reach have come there, and that have then become the apex culture? What clothes do they wear? I really hope that's how they pull it off. He said, he had never steeped himself in the mythology, and so he took a similar approach to getting to know the world of Halo. He said, didn't really understand the mythology, so he took to exploring the lore of Halo and quickly became enamored with the deeper world of the series. He continued saying, there are times when you get involved with something, you don't really know it at the level of detail that the fans know, and you can sort of say, well, that's actually quite a good thing because you can have a fresh approach, said Wyatt. What became clear to me is it's running on dual tracks. There's the gaming population and then those that really explore the mythology. I became so obsessed with it. I was like, holy cow, this is an amazing world to explore. He explained time ran out for me when discussing the reason for his departure for the project. I really hope that's how they pull it off, he said to the new creative team. So he has no ill will. It didn't work out for his scheduling. And with that, though, Showtime announced that they added Stephen Kane as a second showrunner for the first season. This is per the Hollywood Reporter. He was added alongside Kyle Killen as showrunner after Killen wanted to focus on the show's stateside production, which includes writing, while Kane will be on set in Budapest during filming. Killen is reportedly expected to appear on set, but not at all times. Stephen Kane is known for co-creating and acting as showrunner on The Last Ship, and also worked on American Dad, The Closer, and more. So he's used to doing big action epics. The Last Ship was on TNT for quite a while, actually, about a ship that tried to stay offshore as a plague took over the world. But yeah, again, like I said, not a whole lot on TV. We're getting to my surprise, so I know today's a long episode. Just bear in mind that a lot to talk about today. And we're not done yet. The couple trailers this week. Toy Story 4 dropped its first story trailer, and it looks like be an interesting way to introduce Bo Peep back into the mix. It looks like it'll be a little bit of a time jump after Toy Story 3. Some of those characters involved, and we get to understand why Woody finds himself at a carnival. He gets lost, as per usual, and goes to find Bonnie again, and Buzz jumps after him, and they find Bo Peep, and then end up at the carnival. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. I got a new trailer for John Wick, which looks amazing. I mean, the training Keanu had to do to get ready for this movie is just insane. Like it's unreal, and it looks like Ian McShane's character who ran the hotel in New York might be providing John some help, even though he's been excommunicated from the assassin community. But I'm excited for John Wick. That drops soon. Let's see. Speaking of Keanu Reeves, him and Alex Winter released a video saying that Bill and Ted 3 will officially begin production soon and will release in 2020. It's good to see that actually really happening this time and not just a rumor anymore. I'm excited, of course, but I don't know how many other people might be. A lot of directors have been giving interviews recently. The director of Godzilla King of the Monsters promised that the new Godzilla movie will be the pay-per-view of Godzilla battles between Godzilla, Rodan, Ghidorah, and Mothra, and maybe 2 still as of yet named kaiju, or titans as they are called in the new Monsterverse. Which, I mean, if this is the pay-per-view of Godzilla fights, what's Godzilla versus Kong supposed to be? I mean, that should be like a pay-per-view level fight too, shouldn't it? I don't know. The Russo brothers were given some interviews. They've admitted that trailers for Endgame and Infinity War are edited in such a way to subvert fans' expectations and to throw them off guard, which, I mean, was obvious. The trailer for Infinity War was always missing certain Infinity Stones when Thanos was fighting Cap. It showed Hulk running with them in Wakanda when in fact he wasn't. So don't expect everything in the most recent Endgame trailer to be taken at face value. And speaking of that, the MCU is planning to rename phases 1 through 3 as the Infinity Saga. Interesting. I guess that's to build up, obviously, to Infinity War and Endgame. And then it was also announced that Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will start production in February of 21, obviously to allow James Gunn to finish the Suicide Squad, which is being called the Suicide Squad. And a lot of people have been walking around claiming it's a full reboot. It's not a full reboot. Everyone's just really confused on that. Can we just get a straight answer? Can someone give us a straight answer? I mean, I'm sure James Gunn only just started writing it, so we don't know. But there's a lot of news coming out of Warner Brothers right now. Some of it good, some of it bad. The bad news, let's get that out of the way first. Warner Brothers CEO Kevin Tsujihara is stepping down amid a extramarital affair, and it's unfortunate that a man like that has to lose his job. He's been working at Warner Brothers for decades now. I think 2 or 3, they said. He's been in charge, the CEO, since at least 2012 or 2013. And in my opinion, he is mainly the one to be blamed for the DCEU's woes. Granted, he picked Zack Snyder. He's the one who ultimately signed off on everything. He's the one who okayed the meddling in the other movies instead of just leaving them be. So hopefully this, along with Aquaman's success and Shazam coming out, getting a lot of early buzz, hopefully a new leaf will have turned over there at Warner Brothers. And speaking of that, a lot of rumors dropped out right now around the new Batman movie. Looks like they're looking to start production by November, December. And then a new rumor is suggesting that it will be set in the 90s and focus on Penguin as the main villain, which makes a lot of sense, especially with Ben Affleck not coming back. They could technically keep it in the current DCEU and have a younger Batman without having to technically reboot it and set it in like a different universe, because it's 20, 30 years ago, so you have a younger Batman, which explains Batfleck's absence, and you can do the detective work. Hell, they hinted at Penguin being around in Batman vs. Superman. You know, Alfred says one wishes for the time when all you had to worry about was wind-up penguins. Or was that Justice League? That was Justice League. They also said, you know, they'd have Commissioner Gordon and Alfred, obviously, and focus more on the detective work as per usual. My only question is, do they keep J.K. Simmons coming back as Commissioner Gordon? And I don't know if they could have Jeremy Irons back as Alfred, obviously, but they could. I mean, Alfred's always just been an older gentleman. Who knows? Warner Brothers also, or someone involved with Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers, said that depending on how Detective Pikachu turns out, they have no problems turning it into a Pokemon cinematic universe. Hey, I'm all for it, man. As long as they just bring like a live action version of Ash or the games, I'm all in. Let's just tread lightly though and see how Detective Pikachu turns out. Also got a teaser trailer for the 9th Quentin Tarantino film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That looks real fun. Looks very Quentin Tarantino. Say what you will about him, but he knows how to make a period piece. I'm excited, especially with Leonardo DiCaprio being involved. And with Star Wars Celebration just around the corner, I'm sure we'll get news in regards to the other spin-off films and the rest of the trilogy, our first Star Wars Episode 9 trailer. But I don't know if this rumor will be confirmed, but it was been floating around that David Benioff and D.B. Weiss, the creators of Game of Thrones, obviously, and showrunners on Game of Thrones, by now, you guys, if you guys didn't know, they've been given the keys to run their own Star Wars spin-off series, and it's rumored that they're going to actually start production in the UK this year, and it will have an Old Republic setting. This is awesome. Let's see. I wonder if they'd go with... If this is true, I don't know if it's best to follow the Old Republic games or set like adjacent to those. Those aren't canon anymore, so they could tell a new canon version of those. And I guess it was because of their experience on Game of Thrones, they would best befit the Old Republic, as it's more of a more refined era, with technology still. But yeah, that's expected. I'm sure we'll have news on that soon. And before I get to the surprise, speaking of Star Wars Celebration, Lucasfilm released pictures of their exclusives. And if you don't know, this year is the 20th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, as well as the 20th anniversary of the Lego deal. So we're going to get a lot of 20th anniversary branded Legos, a lot of Phantom Menace toys, and a lot of those toys are centered around Darth Maul, who's had a bit of a resurgence lately, especially with him being in Solo and now the general populace knowing that he survived the events of the Phantom Menace. Obviously, if you watch the Clone Wars or Rebels, you knew he's been around for a while. He didn't die, but I wonder if they're teasing at something bigger involving Maul, and if he'll be involved in some other new stuff that's coming out. But now, to my surprise, I got to see Shazam 2 weeks early, and oh my god, it was great. You know, I was texting a friend, and I told him it was better than expected, and he's like, "What did you expect? Why did you pay for a movie if you expected it to be shit?" I'm like, "No. Don't be an idiot, right? Like it was not what I was expecting. As in, I didn't have high expectations, I didn't have low expectations, but the movie actually was a lot funnier than I expected it to be. I was laughing quite a bit throughout the film. The action and the CG are very well done. The story actually flows. I read some other reviews saying like, "Oh, it falls apart in the middle," and I'm like, no. Zachary Levi is amazing as Captain Marvel. Like it's almost as if the Billy Batson or Asher Angel, the actor playing him, was just doing everything for Zachary Levi instead of Zachary Levi doing it, because it makes you believe that it is a 14-year-old. Or Zachary Levi plays a very convincing 14-year-old turned into a large adult superhero. And the Mark Strong as Dr. Sivana is great. I mean, you can tell that he loved playing the character. I know he likes doing good guys and bad guys. Great redemption for him, considering he played Sinestro in the Green Lantern movie that everyone shits on. But the way the story plays out, I don't want to give too many spoilers away just because it is 2 weeks early, and maybe we'll talk about spoilers in a couple weeks once it's out and wide release and more people have seen it. I don't want to give too much away, but it did a lot of things I did not expect them to do. It went like full comic book, and well, not full comic book, but like 85% comic book, and it works because sometimes that shit you can't pull that off right, and it doesn't work in a way that you would hope it would, but it does in this movie. And there is a reference to Big. I will say that. I won't tell you where, or how, but there is a reference to Big that I'm sure everyone saw coming. The after credit scenes are really cool, and they tie into the story a lot more. There is connection to the greater DCEU, so it is part of that same universe. I will say this, I liked Shazam a whole lot more than I liked Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel kind of left me longing, waiting for more. I won't say that it's not better than Aquaman, because I loved Aquaman. But I will say that Shazam is a solid 9 out of 10. And I'm not kidding. It's been a while since I left probably since Infinity War and Aquaman. Those are the last. Oh, it's been a while. Infinity War and Aquaman left a lot of joy and wow in me. Shazam did the same thing. Let me rephrase by saying Shazam left me with a lot of wow. Like I said, it's really funny. The casting is perfect. Even in some of the spoilery stuff I'm not going to talk about, the casting in regards to that is great as well. But it is really fun. It's really funny. It is, if you do have younger siblings or nieces or nephews or your own kids, it is safe to take them to it. It is there. I will say, the some of the villain designs are a little creepy and not something I expected in a movie like this. But it is watchable. It's not something that it's not too scary or anything like that. There are some stuff. It is PG-13 still, so I will say that it's a little more friendlier it's a little closer to PG than R on the PG-13 scale. But it like I said, I was laughing the whole movie. The casting is great. Definitely a 9 out of 10 for me personally. And I would probably want to go see it again in IMAX. There's like I said, the fight scenes are choreographed well. The computer generated images are well done. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look crazy. And it's not something, like I said, it's not something I expected out of this movie. It was more fun and funnier than I thought. It raised the bar for me in terms of what's next on the DCEU slate, which is Wonder Woman 1984 in June. So we're over a year away from the next DC release, I think, unless Birds of Prey comes out before that. But it looks like the things are finally looking up for them over there. And I would definitely check out Shazam if you guys are excited. I'm going to give it my stamp of approval. It comes out April 5th. I got to see it through a special early premiere through Fandango, if you're wondering how I got to do it. I mean, it was a packed theater, and everyone was laughing, so that's a good thing, too. When the whole theater's laughing at all the jokes, you know it's doing well. And I actually did see some people that I know at the movie as well, and they really liked it. So I'm excited, and it sets a new bar. But yeah, that's it for Nick's Nerd News. Thank you guys for listening to a long episode. Like I said, there was a lot to talk about with Google Stadia announcement, some other gaming news, and of course this Shazam review at the end of the episode here. Again, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Nick's Nerd News, nicksnerdnews.com. You can find links there as well for Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes. And that's it, guys. Catch you guys on the flip side, all right? Fuck the haters.